Welcome to the May the 9th, 2000 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie, as we bring you the history of our city and some of the folks that have made history and are continuing to make history this very day. This is our history tape number 397, and we are very honored today as we celebrate Armed Forces Day a little bit in advance. We're bringing to you a very special gentleman, a very special commander, and a very special captain. And Captain Craig McDonald, welcome to the set again.
Thank you so much for having me back again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's wonderful. And as the commander of Navy Dallas, now on its, I guess, in memory, and over to the Joint Reserve Base, NAS Fort Worth, as the commander there. You've just been the commander of everything, haven't you?
Well, moved around a little bit, but it has been a pleasure to be here in Texas to do these things. This is a lot of fun. Anytime you get an opportunity to come to Texas to do this kind of stuff, it's a lot of fun.
Now, as the emperor of two different entities, the one at Navy Dallas and the one at NAS Fort Worth, which one has been the most exciting and which one made you feel more secure?
Well, there are actually two different types of jobs. The one at NAS Dallas was mostly to come in near the end and help make sure all the buildings were ready to be turned over to the to our Naval Facilities Engineering Command.
Yes.
On the other hand, over at NAS Fort Worth, at the Joint Reserve Base, it's an operating base again, and it has actually been where I spent the majority of my time. So I would say they've both had the high and low points. It's a lot of fun to be at an operating base, but it's also a lot of hard work to close a facility and see that history go. That makes it very difficult to do a thing like that. So they both had their high and low points, but together, that's what the best part of it is. I had them both together.
You actually are not at the final closure point of Navy Dallas, are you?
Well, not really. We'll never really be at the final closure point. I mean, you can't leave that amount of history in our military behind without remembering some part of it. I think we'll always have something over there with an opportunity to go over there and at least look at the buildings that were there for years and remember all those great things that happened over there.
Now, May the 20th is Armed Forces Day. How do you all celebrate Armed Forces Day at the Joint Reserve Base?
Well, in particular on this Armed Forces Day, a group of American Legion posts and some Vietnam veterans and VFWs are going to come out to the base, and we're going to actually toss a few wreaths into Lake Worth and have some speeches and celebrate the veterans of our country, both past, present, and the future veterans, and have a nice little ceremony and picnic and those kind of things. It'll be a lot of fun.
How wonderful.
Yes.
Now, this is separate and apart for your big deal of the day that's coming up May the 13th and the 14th, which is this coming weekend. Tell me about what's happening there.
Well, I'll tell you a lot. About a year's worth of planning's gone into this for the big air open house, our Open House 2000, the first one of the new millennium, which it wasn't quite here, another year, but we consider it the new millennium. About a year's worth of planning to have the Blue Angels come in there and provide the show that they provide with, and the big crowds that want to see the Blue Angels. Plus we have about 25 other acts of both military and civilian acts that are going to put on a nice little air show, an open house to show to our surrounding neighbors what it's like, you know, to be in the military or see air shows and get a chance for them to come out there and actually walk on the runway and see what all their tax dollars is going to pay for, and an opportunity to meet some of the sailors and some of the Marines and the airmen that are out there every day being part of the neighborhood. We just want to make sure that our doors are open. Come on out and see us. This is time for you to view what we've been doing all these years.
Y'all going to have a show and tell and let them pet the aircraft?
Show and tell, 100 different static display airplanes, people all over the place, a chance to talk to military, all branches of the military, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, Army, a chance to meet up with all these young sailors and airmen and soldiers that have been are doing this every day and get a chance to see what they do. And the best part, I think, of it is so often that you see us out there flying around, now's an opportunity to walk out there and walk on the ramp and touch the airplanes and see the aviators and the people who fly these things.
Now, the excitement of all of that is wonderful, but the nuts and bolts and the day-to-day job that you have as the commander, and you mentioned about 4 or maybe 5 different groups of the services. How many do you actually have that are under the jurisdiction of that Joint Reserve Base?
We have every service out there except for the Coast Guard.
I see.
There isn't a whole lot of waterfront, I guess,
Yes,
for the Coast Guard. So I'm not really over all them. The base is run by myself and a Air Force general and an Air Force colonel, a bunch of Navy captains, and a couple of Marine colonels, and we kind of get together as a group and discuss the issues on the facility. I happen to be the lucky one that happens to be the host, so I kind of cheer this little group of about 12 of us that sit there and talk the issues out about the base and try to make sure that it is going in the direction we need to do to make sure that we are on the leading edge of readiness to support our country. And that's exactly what we do. And
You're kind of like the neutral chair.
I would be a neutral chair, although I have the majority of the money to keep the facility open and keep the runway going. The actual operators, which are all the other people
They
on the
do their
base.
own thing in your base.
Right, right.
Oh, that's
But we all have the same focus. Our job is to train warriors in defense of this country.
I understand that when you moved from Navy Dallas there, that you were able to bring all of the different parts and everything into warehouses where it would be less expense. Is that true?
Oh, that's exactly true. As a matter of fact, if you look at our facility, we have people from Glenview, NAS Glenview closed years ago, NAS Memphis. We have people from Dallas, obviously. We have facilities from Bergstrom when the Air Force Base closed. And so we come all together and we're all under one roof. So actually, is there a savings? Yes, there is a savings from the standpoint that we're all under one roof and there are other facilities closed. And we're starting to work together and we're all using the same facilities. So it is economy of scale, and we are making money from that standpoint. It's working out great.
And you've been over there how long?
22 months.
22 months.
22 months ago, you know,
Yes.
it's almost over here.
We cried a lot, didn't we? 22 months ago, and how much longer?
Actually, 58 days.
58 more days.
Right.
And you're not going to self-destruct then, Captain McDonald, but what's going to happen to the generous one?
Well, as usual, we get orders, and I've got orders to the Pentagon. We'll be leaving there July 8th
Okay.
and heading to Washington, D.C.
Okay, July the 8th to the Pentagon. It's pretty hot in Washington about that
It'll
time.
be warm up there that time. It'll be a different type of warm. It'll be a humid type of warm, not like here.
And do you have any idea what your assignment will be in the Pentagon?
I've got orders to be, it's called the Executive Assistant, EA, to the Director of the Naval Reserve. I'll be working for Admiral Todashik as his Executive Assistant, and he is the Director of the Naval Reserve, the Commander of the Naval Reserve Force.
Oh my, you're going to meet some very important folks and stem-wind many happenings for that group.
Well, I guess I will there, but I'll tell you, I've met many more important folks here since I've been in Texas. It's been a lot more fun, I think, than I ever thought it was going to be.
All right, now tell me about your family.
Oh, the family. Texas is exactly what it is. It's big. Its heart is as big as the state is. We have had more fun living in Texas than I ever thought.
All right, name your family.
Kathy, my wife, my daughter, 14-year-old daughter Kelly, who wants to drive before we leave, but I don't think we're going to make it, and my 10-year-old son Keith.
Yes.
They love it here.
They love it in Texas. They're going to adjust, though, to Washington, D.C. or the surroundings.
Yeah, the sad thing is they go where I go, and that's really great. I appreciate that. Every 2 years we've been moving. For the last 10 years, we've moved 5 times, every 2 years.
Yes.
And this will be right at 2 years. They will adjust to D.C., but I think this Texas thing has kind of grown on them. My daughter doesn't want to leave high school here at all.
I would think not.
Right.
And she is where now in high school?
She's a freshman over at Western Hills High School in
Hills.
Fort Worth.
Oh dear, oh dear.
She loves it.
And Kathy, how is she taking all of this move?
She's doing fine.
As well as can be expected.
As well as can be expected.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, we have boxes we have not even unpacked from the last move.
From the last move.
And the move before that.
I see. That gets quite compounding.
It does. It just starts to get on you after a while. The moves get harder and harder. As the kids get a little older, it gets more difficult. They make more friends. But we have the opportunity to go to D.C., where my daughter will be a sophomore and be able to finish
there.
high school in Washington, right?
Oh, that's going to be
That's
an
going to work out
experience.
perfect for her.
Yes. All right. The Joint Reserve Base. You're located on the western portion of Fort Worth.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're getting ready for the big air show. What is the best thing about the Joint Reserve Base as far as locality is concerned compared to the other places that you have been?
I think it's the best part of it for me is that we feel like we're a part of the neighborhood. The little surrounding communities have just taken the entire base under their wing. The city of Fort Worth has, and they provide us immense support. And everything that we do, we go out to the communities, we talk to them, we said we need to do this because it's part of our training evolution in the military, and they're very supportive of it. From that standpoint, you can't ask for a better place to live. And I know that was the same way it was over here in NES Dallas. It's just like you get all these people from Dallas, they move over to West Fort Worth, and they're willing to say, okay, we know you're in our backyard, and we like your backyard, we like you in our backyard, and I appreciate all that you're doing for the country. And that's the community I have over there as well.
Well, you all were so supportive to the cities surrounding because your fire department, your police department, your departments were like another little city, and they always came to rescue us when we were in bad trouble. And I know that you've done the same over there in the Fort Worth area. So.
And it's carried over. I think the NES, the Dallas community, the Grand Prairie community, and the little towns around rescued the base as much as anything else. When we needed help, I'm sure the people at NES Dallas got it. We do the same thing at Fort Worth. If I need some help, the little communities of River Oaks and Sansom Park and West Worth Village and the city of Fort Worth are there to help you with your help.
Yes.
And that's great.
That's wonderful.
Makes you feel like you're wanted.
Recruits. Now we have Noel, who's on camera number 1 over here, making you look handsome and all of the good stuff.
He's working real hard, isn't he?
Yes, and he recently has joined the Air Force. Now, when you join the Navy and the portion that you're in, we know that they send them off somewhere else and train them. Do you get pretty raw recruits coming into your base as far as all of those different entities that you mentioned are affiliated?
Oh, we certainly do. But there's a different level of recruit these days. Our recruits, first of all, go to Great Lakes, finish the recruit training center, then go on to an A school, we call it, so they can learn their skill, the basic skill. But these recruits coming in today are very, very bright people.
Yes.
They all understand computer technology.
Computer literate.
Oh, the knowledge that these kids have, and they come out of high school, even if they don't have started college or anything, they've learned more in high school than we did.
Yes.
Guarantee you that.
I'll guarantee you that.
My son's in 4th grade doing geometry, and I'm trying to figure out, I know I didn't do geometry in 4th grade.
I couldn't do it in high school.
Right,
Very
that's
well.
another thing. But the recruits such as Noel, and they're brilliant young kids, and they are just technically smart, and they come in and they can step right in and they run the organization. And we do get those quite a bit out the base, and it's great to see them. They're good to have. They're hard charging. They want to participate, and they become patriots to the country. They want to serve their country one form or another, whether it's in the military or in the Peace Corps or serving in one of those capacities. That's what they want to do, and it's great to have those kind out there.
If you had it all to live over, no, you'd move every 2 years, no, you would uproot your family and do all of this. Is the career life still an exciting life, and is it what you had hoped it would be?
Oh, it's more than what I hoped it would be.
Yes.
This has been the most exciting part of my career since I've been in the Navy. I've been in 24 years on active duty and then 4 years in college, so I've been doing the Navy for 28 years.
Okay.
Would I like to move every 2 years? Nah. I prefer to stay 3 years or 4 years, but when we start getting that 24-month point, like my wife and I are right now, you start getting a little antsy.
It's time.
And you look at those boxes and you say, maybe it's time to pack up and move. It gets more difficult on the kids because they're changing schools it, but I have gotten more out of this than I have gotten more out of it than they put into it. I have just enjoyed everything they've given me. It's been exciting. The career is a lot of fun.
All right, if you would give some advice to the young people that are going into high school now and to prepare themselves so that they might be lucky enough to get an appointment to one of the academies or whatever, how would you charge them? I'd like for you to just give them a real good send-off.
Well, if I had to give someone the advice, I would just say that it's the same thing I said at career day at the school the other day. You need to stay in school. You need to listen to your teacher, but your teacher's not going to teach you everything. Your teacher's going to give you the tools to learn the things you need to learn. And you need to take those tools and apply them to your goals that are in front of you. And you can learn those things from your teacher, and if you apply those tools that your teacher gives you, you will be a brilliant person. You'll come out of every education level that you're in, you will come out much better off. You'll be a hard charger. You'll be great for this country. You'll be able to go out there and do anything you want to do.
All right. That's a wonderful send-off. Now, let's look back. You were born where?
I was born in eastern Montana, a little town called Miles City.
Miles City, Montana. Your parents, what did they do?
My father was a salesman in eastern Montana, and my mother took care of myself and my 3 brothers, the 4 boys.
I see.
She had a big job.
Yes. When you went to school, did you work between school and have to earn a living at all?
No, I tell you, my father did that when he grew up.
Yes.
And when he started working, he said he's going to work hard enough that his kids will not have to work during school, especially high school. So I had the luxury of not having to work during high school because my dad had worked so hard to provide that for us.
Who was the mentor that saw that really gave you a charge to get through school, and who provoked the college interest?
I think my dad did. I'll tell you, he was worked very hard at what he did, and then but he also enjoyed himself. He enjoyed flying. He enjoyed aviation. And I think when I was a young kid, we had airplanes as I was growing up, and he'd take me out in that, and I felt the only real way I could get to where I needed to fly and do an aviation type career was to join the military.
Yes.
And so I just kind of followed my dad around.
Yes.
I mean, if he can work that hard, I think I can do the same thing.
Okay. Why the choice of the Navy?
Do you really want to know?
I really want to know.
I applied for the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy, and the Army, and I was accepted at the Navy and the Army, and I figured Navy's ought to be the way to go.
And so where did they send you first?
Myself and my high school buddy were both selected to go to the Naval Academy at the same time, so we went to Maryland.
To Maryland.
4 years in Annapolis, right?
Now that's exciting.
It was, at the time, I didn't think so.
But you know, there are many young men that would covet an appointment such as that.
Yes, as I look back upon it, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yes.
But when you're there going through that experience, now when you look back upon it, you know there's a reason they did what they had to do. There's a reason that you went through the academy and went through the rigorous training that they had. And I think I'm a much better person off because of what they did for me.
When you got to the academy, did you go the direction you thought you would go at the end of the 4 years
Yes,
there?
I did.
You already knew what you wanted to
I
do?
wanted to be in aviation. I wanted to be a pilot. My eyesight got a little bad there near the end, so.
And the first plane that you flew as a Navy man was a what?
The T-28.
A T-28, that little trainer.
Right, back in 1975.
And after the T-trainer, what was the first jet that you?
I moved from T-28s to A4s,
All right.
T-2s, T-39s, and then to my fleet airplane, which was an E-2.
All right, okay. And the excitement of going through all of those schools and all of those steps, what has that meant to you?
You can't buy training like that. I mean, it was about the most exciting part of my life at the time. I had just enjoyed every step of it along the way. Now I know there's a lot of acronyms in there, but just
Yes.
for the people listening to this, those are just the numbers of airplanes, and that's all it was. It went from prop airplanes to jets back to props in the fleet.
And when, because of your eyesight, you gave up being the pilot of the world and decided you had to fly a desk, what did this do to you?
I think worse than not being in the fleet, not flying in the fleet, was when you went to a desk job, that's what you had, was paper. You ended up not being around all the sailors.
Yes.
You had many less sailors to be around, and I think that had more effect on me than not flying airplanes as much. I've never really been without a flying job. I've been, like I said, in the fleet 24 years, and I've had a flying job all 24 years.
All 24 years?
It's just that I was not in a squadron at times. I was at desk jobs. I have to go to the squadron to go flying. I think what I miss most of that time when you have a desk job is the fact that you're not with the people that are really doing the job, the sailors that are in there doing it every day, and they are the backbone of the organization, and an opportunity to interact with these young people that are just brilliant and want to work so hard and do what they can for the country and do what they can to make the Navy a good place to be.
What kind of an attitude do the new recruits have?
Oh, they have a great attitude.
They're ready to go.
They are ready to go. They're ready to serve their country. Whether it's here, whether it's overseas, whether it's on a ship, whether it's in training, I mean, they are ready to go. What
has the computer world done to your job into the Navy?
Pretty much passed me by. How's that? It has made a lot of changes. It has brought a technical expertise to the military that we didn't have, say, even 5 years ago.
Yes.
They brought in many more intelligent people that understand the technical aspect of it all. So I think the raw recruit and the officers that are coming in today are just technically smarter than the day when I came in.
The schools nowadays are hitting our taxpayers pretty severely in order to build computer bases in the schools. How important is that?
Oh, very important. I don't think you'll find a skill out there anywhere, whether it's in the military, outside the military, private industry, that if you don't have the computer skills or the technical knowledge, it's going to be very difficult to find that type of work.
The investment is worth it?
The investment is obviously worth it.
I know that
we need to keep ahead of our competition, which we feel are the foreign nations. And if we don't build that expertise at this level and the technical expertise, we will fall behind the power curve.
And talking about students, your young daughter that's going to Washington with you and going to be finishing her school there, does she have a career map?
She wants to be an oceanographer or an ocean engineering.
I see.
So she wants to.
She needs to come back to A&M, doesn't she?
Well, I'm not so sure she wants to go to A&M. She wants to go to William and Mary.
William and Mary.
Yes, and then take a degree from there.
And have you counseled with her about this?
Oh yes. Oh yes. She's excited.
She's excited. And the spin-off from that, what do you think where her career would take her?
Well, I tell you, I really don't know. It's like anybody else who starts college. You have an idea, and by the end of 4 years, your ideas have changed a little bit. I don't think she's interested in following a career like I had. I think the moving around has gotten to her, especially the last couple of years. She's a smart young lady. She'll understand what she needs, and she'll figure it out.
And your young son that's in the 4th grade, does he have a map?
He doesn't, not really. You know, he's done the typical, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a policeman. Now he's kind of he likes flying. He kind of would like to fly a little bit. He was talking about being an astronaut here a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Well, that's a real good exit thought, in that we're going to miss you in this area because you have been so wonderful in the community. You've been very compatible with the cities, with the schools. You've gone to everything they've invited you to, the Chamber of Commerce. You've had a part in all of that. And yet, Navy Dallas is still unsettled. What are you going to do with the rest of your life after the Pentagon? You have about 2 minutes to tell me this.
I don't know.
You don't.
I'm hoping somebody gives
Are
me
you
a
going to
set
write?
order.
Are you going to write a book or do something exciting?
No, I don't think so. My wife and I just want to kind of settle down and find some place that we can actually be a part of and feel like we're more a part of the community in a long-term sense. Feel we're part of the communities wherever we've been. We've left a lot of good friends behind. But we just have not become a permanent member of a community, and that's what we're looking forward to most. Regardless of where it is, whether it's on the East Coast, West Coast, Texas, North, Montana, or someplace, we want to be a part of that community.
Would you want to be a part of it enough that you would, pardon me, run for an elected office?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you have any aspirations other than retirement and just getting along with the community?
That's good enough for me.
You think that's
perfect.
That's going to, I'd like for you to end this interview by looking out and thanking everyone in the community in any way you'd like to for the opportunities that came to you at Navy Dallas and at the Joint Reserve Base.
Well, I thank you for that opportunity, Ruthie. I would just like to say thank you from not only myself, but from the United States government and the Department of Defense in particular, at everything that everybody has done in the Dallas communities and the Fort Worth communities to support the military and the veterans and the retirees that live here. It's very important that we look after all our people that are doing the job that you want them to do every day and supporting our country and our interests abroad. So thank you so much for that.
And the new captain coming on board on July the 8th is?
Captain Steve McMullen. He has been in Fort Worth or Dallas before. He was the CEO of VF 201 at the time.
At that time, and he came from where now?
He's been last 4.5 years in the Pentagon. He's ready to leave.
And so y'all are swapping jobs?
That's pretty much it.
That's it, okay. And you recommend him highly?
I certainly do.
And you have worked with him?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I think that we're going to be in safe hands as usual.
You are.
I want to really thank you for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Captain
Enjoy it.
You have been wonderful to the city of Grand Prairie, Texas, and to us here on It's Happening. We have more histories probably of you than we do any of the other commanders. And so, because you have gotten to stay here with us a little while. And thank you so much for helping us with history number 397, which is your exit interview and you're hustling off to the Pentagon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.